Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Leaders Dojo. And thank you very much for making time to be here tonight. I'm Chee-Seng, your host of the Leaders Dojo LinkedIn Live show. For those of you who don't know me yet, let me just introduce myself in a short while. Hold on, let me just get this started. Okay, that's me on the screen. So, yep. So my name is Chee-Seng. Let me start again. My name is Chee-Seng, and I am a writer, content strategist, and trainer and coach. I've been a writer for almost 25 years. And in the past year or so, I've added training and coaching to my resume. I guess age has been catching up with me. I'm almost 50 now. And I've been feeling the urge to pass on my knowledge, right, and help others in their writing and communications journey. So, and I started speaking and training in April of 2020, last year during the MCO. And since then, I've delivered over 30, probably over 40 webinars, including to audiences from Canada, USA, India, Hong Kong, Singapore, Korea, and others. And earlier this year, I joined Communications Leadership Academy as a partner. CLA is a boutique training firm, or rather a boutique training outfit that designs bespoke programs for corporations. And together with 3 other partners, we offer a 360 approach to skills training, communications, and organizational development. And this is where the show comes in, the Leaders Dojo show, right? This is part of that vision. The intention here is to actually start the conversation, among people, among companies, among corporate leaders, about leadership, communications, and branding, and how they are so essential and so integrated in our world today. So twice a month, every second and fourth Tuesday, I'm going to be talking to experts, leaders, and change makers to get their insights into these topics. I want to make this show a very interactive show, so feel free to join in the conversation. Drop in your comments or questions into the chat box, and let's have a conversation together with our guest. Which brings me to, let me introduce my guest. It is my great honor to have, to be able to invite one of the most accomplished Malaysians today, Dato Seri Rahman Maidin. Dato Seri is a prominent entrepreneur who has interest in diverse industries around the world. And among other things, he was one of the top corporate leaders in Malaysia as the former chairman of MRCB, among other things. And he was also president of the Malaysian and ASEAN Chambers of Commerce. He's still active today, and currently he's also very active in social empowerment and activism work. So, right, with all the insights that he has to share, I'm sure we are going to have a great time tonight talking to him. Without further ado, let me bring on Dato Seri, and I'll ask him to introduce himself. And please feel free to drop a question if you have any for him.
Hi, Ivo. Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Dato Seri. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to have you
here. Thank you for having me.
It's my it's my honor for you, making time. Yeah. So, right. So I just had a very, very brief introduction just now. Maybe can you tell us a little bit more about your career as chairman of the MRCB or other highlights of your career?
Well, yeah, you said it in brief, so I'm not sure whether I will add on, but I'll add, since there is a request, I will add on a bit. I was the president of the Malaysian Chamber of Commerce and in the leadership for almost, I was in the president for almost 9 years. I'm in the leadership of the organization for almost 30 years. And I was the chairman of the National Chamber of Commerce, Malaysian National Chamber of Commerce for 9 years. And with that, by rotation, I was also the chairman of the ASEAN Chamber of Commerce, and also the chambers of the OIC, or the Organization of Islamic Countries. And
Wow.
I was the vice president and I was the president of the Asia Pacific of the OIC countries. So I had
Wow.
a cross section of about a lot of the commercial, the across the board of the industries, locally as well as that aspect of it. And I was advising the United Nations in UNOPS. On the
Right.
UNOP is United Nations project, operational and services for all their UNDP programs
All right.
of those years. I was there about, the office is in New York, and I was there for about 6 years.
Were
And of
you
course,
overseeing? Were you overseeing the global operations or for
no,
Malaysia?
we had projects all over the world. So
Right.
we, as I said, we were advising the UNDP on what to do, and how to do it, and when you implement projects globally, and that's where I was. And of course, back home, I was beside the Chamber of Commerce, cutting across. I've started business on my own too. That's where I started. When I left the civil service, I started on my own from the bottom,
Right.
right to the. I was chairing the MRCB as a group. That's about
Right.
4 listed companies: media, infrastructures, power, energy, and the rest of it, including other in the construction. So altogether, about 6 or 7 PLCs at that time, running it
And
and turning it around. Yeah,
this was during the 90s and early 2000s, was it?
precisely. But I
Right.
was in business way back in 1980s. Yeah, way back from 1980s
Right.
to 19. I'm still in business. So right now I'm leading an international team on security, intelligence, finance, as well as technology related to environment and green energy.
Yeah.
So we are still there, and I'm kicking along as life has demanded of me.
So, Dato, I know you have had a very colorful history. Some people might be curious how we met. Uh,
Yeah,
we actually worked on some projects. I think it was 10 years back when we first
yeah.
worked together. Yeah, I think it was 10 years
A
back.
bit on
The
a bit
NGO
on
in
the social
Penang.
front, a bit on the social front.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, on the
because I felt
social.
I felt the need that we need to push on that particular time, and I was fortunate to meet you. You complimented our effort, yeah,
Yeah,
to
that
a
was
very
actually
great length.
that was actually a great experience for me. My
Yeah,
first time doing a media workshop. I remember.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. So let me just say hello to a few people. Hi, Jonah, Pauline, and Roy. Yes, Kok Seong, Lin, Teacher Ken, Irsha, James Fong. Captain James Fong is here. Oh, okay. I must have you on the talk one day, right? Captain is definitely a leader, and especially in a confined place where nobody else can escape and turn away from you. that takes something, right? And thank you for all you people who say I don't look like 50. I'm technically still 47, so I am not 50 yet. I don't know what I will look like at 50. Marisa, thank you for being here. Michelle, James, Aoyong. All right. And Feeling, hi. Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking about leadership, branding, and communications. And I've asked Dato and to come online, and he has very kindly agreed, because in the 10 years that I've known him, and we've had a lot of discussion about a lot of topics, but I find that Dato Seri, you have a wealth of insights and wisdom, right? Gain through your experiences. So I thought it would be great to pick your mind about these three topics. In fact, since you are obviously a leader, having led large organizations, communications as well, because you have led in media as well, media organizations as well, and as well as branding. All right, so maybe we can open up by just asking a very broad question. So what's your view of leadership, communication, and branding, as a whole?
I think let's take the first, before you can talk about the most important issues there is in that three points that you brought up about leadership, communication, and branding. I would like to touch on the leadership, because the right leader will communicate in the right way and get the people in the right form and in the right mood with the right energy to be able to create an organization that eventually will have a brand that will sustain the leadership of a country, leadership of any kind of organization. So it is important. But touching on leadership, I think the first important point is leadership is not a position. Just because you occupy the position of the leader, of a position of a general manager, or the position of a managing director, a position of a chairman, that does not mean that you're a leader. A leader must emanate from that position. So in other words, you must first want to lead. If you are a leader, you are put in a position of leadership and you don't want to lead, and you don't understand what is leadership, then the whole organization is to fall flat on you. We have seen, so I'm thinking about my own experiences. There's so many organizations, whether social, commercial, political, that you have a leader, but he's not a leader. He doesn't want to lead. He wants to lead, but when I say want to lead, it's not just because of that position. He wants to lead because he assumes that leadership role. He takes into that leadership role, and that starts with him. It starts with him. In other words, you must lead yourself first.
Right.
If you can't lead yourself, you can't lead others. Forget about leading others. So leading yourself means, what does leading yourself mean? So it must be in you that you want to lead, and you think that it involves, beside your stature, your positioning of yourself, you wanting to do something, and you want people to follow you. You have to have, at least in that position, besides that stature and the positioning that you have, you must be aware of you must be aware of that. You must be aware that you are a leader. In other words, there are people that will be required, are looking towards you, that and hopes to have that for you to lead. That's what it means. So yeah. So in other words, you must be aware. So you must be aware, and you must be thinking of what you must be sentient. In other words, you must be sensitive to perceptions.
Right.
All right.
So Dato, can I ask you a question?
You must be sensitive to how people see you. Yeah, please.
Yeah. So what you said is basically there is a difference between the attitude of a leader and the position of a leader, right? So, but I have heard some people say that, well, if you don't have a position, then you're not in a position to lead. So what do you think of that? Right, you need to have a position, then you're able to, you have a sort of like a right or ability to lead.
Number one, you have yourself to lead. Does that need a position?
So it starts with yourself, right? You lead yourself first.
So what position is that? Your position is yourself. So if you can't help, you can't lead yourself. You are talking about leading others. And to me, that's untenable to me, right? So that's what you have. You are in a community. You are in a society. And then you talking to me earlier 10 years ago. I was from there, but I'm on a different position now. But you're still talking to me about leadership. What position am I holding now? I'm not in position in LinkedIn. I'm not in position in your company. I'm not in position anywhere except for my own organization. But you still talk to me because you think that's right. You introduce me. You introduce me like you are. You think I'm a leader, but I'm not saying that I am or not. That's for you to judge. But you think that I am, and that's why you're talking to me. So, to me, position is, if you have a position, leadership is a demand of you, on you. So you cannot say, wait until I become a lead, I have a position, then only I can lead. So in other words, you are defeatist from the very first attitude, mindset that you are taking. So, and because of that,
so which means going into the position, we need to already have that mindset and that self-leadership
precisely
present already.
What does it take? Let me tell you what does it take.
Right.
What does a leader, for you to have a leadership basis of a leadership? I have a friend who is a professor at the IMD, the international, what you call an organization the IMD is based in Switzerland. It's about the management, something that they are on leadership. There is the International Institute of Management Development located in Lausanne in Switzerland. I have a friend in the name of Dr. George Kohlreiser. He is the clinical psychologist on behavioral and organizational behavior. And we discussed with him a few times too. So he termed this as a secured base. I don't want that. The term secured base is not from me, but I know what it is. When I discuss with him, he calls it secured base. Secured base means you are moving. That leadership base means you are a leader. So people are going to look at you as a leader. So what you have to do is you have to have that emotional experience. You are done. You have evolved. You have overcome emotionally. You are calm. You know what you are doing. You have knowledge. You have the intellectuality. More important, you have the intrinsic intelligence. I call it intrinsic. Intrinsics mean you have an original intelligence. That does not mean that it's more than just thinking. It's something that that comes out of you as you walk into the unknown. When you walk into leaders, is about walking into the unknown. You are at the edge. You are at the front end where you are taking a step into the unknown.
Right.
What is that solution at that particular moment? So you have to have the intrinsic intelligence in you to talk of how to take it forward. For that secure knowledge, you have to have the capability and capacity. So you, as I said, besides wanting, you must have the capacity. And so knowledge, all these are, and I think besides all that, you need to create whatever you do as a leader from that secure base. You are a person that is bothered or that wants to make sure that your leadership impacts socially, environmentally, whether it is a commercial environment, whether it is a physical environment, social environment, or commercial environment. So I think this is that when you assume a leadership, I think that's enough you must involve in this. When you assume that leadership, you must want it, and you must have that. In other words, you are no longer looking at your own problems. You are no longer looking at, you are in the front, you are in the front that walks and taking the rest of that. So this is important to me, that secure base, as Riser call it.
Right.
And I
So
call it.
there's a question from Liana. Intrinsic intelligence, is it the same as, are these people the same as those who would walk towards the fire? You mean, Liana, do you mean like those walk towards danger, or is that what you mean? Maybe you can
challenge. Or walks towards challenge. Yes. A leader survives on challenges, because that's when people are looking at you. When there is a big challenge in your organization, or you have a big challenge in your country, you're the person that walks first and then provide the solution. And in order to provide the solution to the leader, to the people that follows you, so you have to be able to give significance. You are significant to the people that follow you. You are significant, and you have the legitimacy. So if you are, what is legitimacy here? Again, I want to emphasize, not just position. Legitimacy here is the legitimacy of leadership. People must look at you and say, yes, this is a leader, I share his vision. And so when you say people share your vision, you have to bring people to your vision. It's not you aping the vision of the people. So you need to craft. Maybe you need to craft that vision. You need to show the picture of that, what you're moving towards to. I mean, where are you going? Where are you? Do you want us to follow you? So you are crafting that position. And then when you craft it.
Can we say that it all begins with ownership first, right? We need to own the role. Not only own the role, we need to own the responsibility. We need to own the burdens and the challenges that come with leadership, right? Own all of it.
You are a leader. When you're a leader, you are the one in front, right? So when you, and I said, there's someone is asking whether it's safety mechanism or sacrifices. When you're a leader, as I said just now, the basic point of a leader is you have the knowledge. The knowledge doesn't cover only safety or non-safety knowledge about going in front. What do you lead? How do people lead? For example, I say, I'm just giving an extreme example here. Let's say we have leaders who took the whole people across to a challenge, to a struggle, for example. There will be sacrifices. But why do people do it? Because the leader is doing it. The leader painted a picture that I want to be a part of that. And when you create, you inspire, you excite, you preserve, and you structure, and you create that want to go forward. Not just you, but you get everyone that you are leading to want the same thing.
Right.
That's the quality of a leadership.
Right.
I'm sorry to say this. Right at the moment, do you feel the same about what we are going through now?
Which actually leads very nicely to a very controversial question on the comments here. If you can see this. Petpal asks, give me your thoughts on the current leadership capabilities of GLC's leaders in terms of leading self, leading others, and leading business. Would you want to answer this, Dato?
I'm open. I've got nothing to hide here. I'm as open as I am. And when I accept your invitation, I don't put impediments or hurdles for you. Of course, I will craft my words. I'll
Okay.
articulate my words, but I'll answer the questions that you want to ask
Yeah.
me. Otherwise,
Yeah.
this is a covered, this is a sugar-coated discourse between yourself
Yeah.
and mine, and I don't want to be that kind of person.
All right.
So coming back to the, I mean, how people are appointed, what people are appointing, who they are appointing, it's none of my bloody business. But whoever takes that position, is not, let me remind you guys, that it is not a position.
Right.
It is a leadership. I think you will do justice if you cannot lead yourself. You don't understand what it's going to do. You're still looking for people to provide you. You are comfortable. You are not embracing the challenges. You're not walking to the unknown. You are not trying to turn around companies that is failing. And you don't look at yourself as having a relationship between you and the rest of the people that you want to follow. You have not crafted anything that you want so that people want the same thing as you have. And I think you should leave that position.
But there you go.
Yeah,
I think that's a clear answer if you're gonna get one.
I'm being honest about that. Yeah. So
yeah, I think so. I mean the recent the infamous press conference after the LAT accident, I think that was really clear to a lot of people.
All right. And I think if at this juncture, I'd like to touch on one more thing.
Yeah.
When you craft that picture of what you want, and you are able to create, and you are able to structure, inspire, and excite that one from the people that is with you, it gives them the energy. You need to create another thing. You need to create the energy. Why? People that want to follow you may not have that energy. They are dismayed. Yeah, like now we are dismayed. We don't know what to do. We don't have energy to do, and you come here. Hey, come follow me. This is that's a nice picture, but I don't have that energy. So that energy must be created by the leader. It starts. So if you can create that energy, the bigger, the clearer the want, the picture, the forward movement, and the bigger the want, the bigger the energy. If people believe in that want, the energy will come from those who wants to follow you. But if they don't believe you, they don't believe what you want, they're not going to be there for you. And you will fail as a leader because you cannot lead people. So I think these are important things. And
yeah, so if I can summarize, so first is the ownership, where you really need to embrace the responsibility and role, and then we has to start inside, right? The self-leadership. We need to lead ourselves before we can lead others. And then you mentioned just now vision, right? We have to paint the picture that the people would want what we want as well.
Very clearly.
I think yes, clearly. And I think the last point is really interesting. The energy that you bring into it, which I think is really great, because if I do remember working under leaders who have great ideas, but they have really no energy, and it's always like, okay, you go and do this, you go and do that, there's not much beyond that.
Yeah, that's a talking leader, not a doing leader.
So I have a little saying, I tell sometimes to people, a leader is someone who does it first, who does it more, and who does it first, who does it more, and does it better. Right?
Not
do it
really.
first, because otherwise you're not going to show anyone. Yeah.
Yeah. When you are leading, you are not leading. I mean, you are. Of course, you are leading yourself. When you are leading, you are leading a pack.
Yeah.
Right. You are not alone. If you think you are doing it alone, then that's wrong to me.
Okay.
You are getting into an area that everybody must come in. Everybody must be on the same page. Everybody must want the same thing. Right? So you are in front together with them.
Right.
You are not in front and the rest at the back of you. You are in front together with them. So you move from whatever that is comfort and move into that area together with them. And to move them together, that's why I said,
Right.
not only you have the energy, but they must have the energy. They must want, and they must have the energy. And how do you create this energy?
Right.
You create by showing that little bit of a small salami portion of the success. Small success, small steps that gives them the comfort that you are moving forward. You are not stationary. For them to say they have to
Right.
come. Right. So these are things that
So
you need to do.
That's
And of course,
that's also a skill, right? To actually able to not only articulate the big vision, but to actually break it down into micro steps where people can see that they're actually making progress.
yeah, precisely. So, and
Yeah.
in that space, when you are demanding that, when everybody is in place, this is my own experience with the, you know, that's you know, when I was leading, I mean, this is history, but I'm not trying to brag on this or to expose it. When we had to turn a sinking ship, a big sinking ship, okay, we took the lead, and everybody feels that, okay, you come with a find something that people want to follow, and everybody else is followed. Then there are a few who thinks, no, I'm comfortable where I am. I used to be doing this, and this was my previous people asking me to do this. You know, I have been doing this like umpteen years. This is something different. I'm not. I'm not going to do it. This way, your leadership must be coupled with discipline. You have to bring discipline on board.
I remember you used another word rather than discipline.
Yeah, discipline and ruthless. You want to hear the word ruthless? Yeah, I am. I was. When the fate of the I'm not talking about the country, so forgive me. The fate of that organization depends on it, right? You have to be ruthless in making sure that whoever falls out doesn't become a spanner in the progress of the majority. You cannot have. You have to be unflinching, ruthless. And if there is a schism in that process, the differences of views and so on, you as a leader must manage that, must bridge that, so that everybody can see.
Communication comes in.
Precisely, so that you communicate, and it's not just a communication. It is awareness. It is a sensitivity to that, whatever you perceive. It is not allowing things the small things to become something that will become a big thing. So these are skills that you develop when you are doing it in front. You're not looking. There is nobody. You are a lonely person. When you walk into the unknown, you are walking into an unknown, but you're doing it for a good cause. This is what you believe, and you must make everybody believe in it. If people don't believe in it, you can't move.
Yeah,
there is
someone told me this before, right? To be a leader is to be lonely, because you're in front. You know, you see things before other people have seen it. You're doing things before other people have done it, and there will be people who oppose you, refuse to cooperate, but you still need to do it for the sake of everybody else. And you need to support everybody else, and it's questionable whether people will have the same level of support for you, right? So
I'm not saying that we be inhuman about it. I'm saying that when I say ruthless, it is for the cause. When I say unflinching and schism, I think it is for the cause. It is for what you stand for. I will be coming into the other two areas now shortly.
Yeah.
Because
so maybe we can answer a few questions first. Do you want to take another question from Purpal?
Sure.
All right. So Purpal asked, you look like a person who does self-reflection intently. were there decisions that you made as a leader that you felt you could have done better or taken a different position?
Well, one thing about leaders, you don't regret. There's no regrets. No chance for you to regret, because you must remember, there is people that's following you. You do the best you can. Of course, there's always every circumstances, every situation. There's always a leader must always aspire to do better, to take a different, whatever position, not just different, but whatever position. That's where it comes from, the intrinsic thinking that I spoke to you about. By observing, by listening, by all these forms part of that senses, that sentient that I call it just now, of feeling it as how to move forward. And once you move forward, you know you move after the best of consideration, because you are thinking and you are sentient. You have an intrinsic thinking, not just knowledge. It's not just knowledge. Knowledge is just knowledge. If it has no emotion in that knowledge, knowledge means nothing. Right?
Right.
You must have that emotions in that knowledge. So that's what I'm trying to say. And you have to have the tenacity, stoicism. Say all these words will come into your mind when you're talking about it. But I think it also allows, sacrifices. And let me tell you about sacrifices, my own experience. I start work during those days, even now sometimes. Of course, now COVID, I can't go much different, but I start work. If there is a need to do something, I start in those days, I start work by getting up at about 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. And I go to office. I'm in the office about 7 o'clock. And then I go back to have dinner with my family. And that's when the only time my family sees me at about 7. Even that sometimes it becomes difficult because of some... and about 7, I have to go back because I'm running media, I'm managing media, and I go back and I see the last printout before I go home. And that takes place at about 2 o'clock in the morning. By the time I resume, it's about 3 o'clock. So that's the kind of sacrifice. But what moves you? What's the energy that you get there? That energy, as I've told you, is that the energy, the wanting to lead and to make sure that you are out of that situation that you are in, or you are improving that situation you are in. Now, so if you talk about sacrifices, you take the first sacrifice. And then I can tell you that people, I don't have to ask, my vice presidents, my general managers, my legal managers, they all work until 4 or 5 in the morning to get things done. I don't have to do anything. They just do it.
Yeah. Because you've set the example, right? Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing that people do when they know very clearly where they want to go. It's not about you getting some money, it's not you're getting some rewards, it's not about you getting everything else. It's about what that organization, you have that emotional feeling for that organization.
It's about the mission, right? It's about the mission.
Leadership is that. And of course you value all the rest that's surrounding you. When you do this, you also give value. You value time. There's no such thing as I can do it tomorrow. You value time. You value resources. You value people, right? You're caring. If they get sick, I give you another example.
Dato, can we answer a question from a young person? Roy, what are your thoughts on essential leadership attributes in going into IR 4.0?
Okay, I hope everybody, IR 4.0 is concocted by some public relations company in the West to give, the technologies are all there. It's just they put it together and they call it IR 4.0, right? In every pillar of that 4.0, I think there are about 10 pillars down there. In every pillar, human resource, technology, science, whatever that you have in that, I can't remember all the 10 now. But in every pillar, if you don't have the right leader, you are not going to make it. The pillars are not going to excel. It's not just, the leadership is not just at the very top. It's demanded at the second level, at the third level. There must be leadership that shares your thoughts and transmits and communicate to down so that people understand. Now, I can also, I have been asking myself this question, maybe I put it there. I've been asking this question. I have heard about IR 4.0, I think, for the last 5-6 years, I think, or 4 years, I'm not sure, 4 or 5 years before. But does anybody understand clearly what the policy on IR 4.0 is? Very clearly, that this is what I have to do in order to achieve? To me, it's just all written in a book. But that's not going to happen if you don't have the leadership as well as the various industries leadership, sub-leaderships at the bottom of the leader. And everyone understand what is IR 4.0 and why they have to be in part of IR 4.0 in order to move forward. If they understand, they are very clear,
Right.
4.0 will be benefiting the country. If they do not, it is something written out of a book, a policy book. It remains in that book.
Right. So you're talking at the
It's
policy level context here lah.
Yeah, but if as I said, if it's not communicated, created a picture. I mean, talking about the leadership, what I've just explained. If that is not communicated downwards to the various levels of leadership and to the people at large, people must understand, you and me must understand, what is that? So we have to understand that. So I think that's what we have to do.
So we have a comment here from Tuan Mustafa, which I think echoes what you have mentioned to me earlier. We are in the state we are in today because of failure of older generation to groom new generation of leaders. What do you think of that, Dato?
I think he has put it correctly. You know, we at my generation, we have a lot of leaders, and during my generation, there's a lot of leaders. I must say so. And then eventually, leadership also, it was a legacy left by the previous leadership. And then there was a subsequent leadership, but it gets dissipated along the way. So if it gets dissipated, today leadership means something else. They think having a position, a big fat salary, that's leader. But they have failed this whole thing, and that's why we are in this doldrums. We have failed to groom. I wouldn't say groom. I said to nurture a legacy of leaders. It is not about grooming a new generation of leaders. I think that we have failed to leave behind an effective legacy for leaders to grow. And of course, that's part of it will become part of the grooming and this one. How come people talk about mentorship, that kind of thing? Yes.
Yeah.
Mentoring is only a small portion of creating a new leader. There's a whole environment, an ecosystem of leaving a legacy behind. Yes, if we fail to leave, to groom new generations of leaders, then we will not have leaders. It's not about just wanting to have leaders, putting people in leadership role. As I said, I don't want to repeat what I've said earlier on, and so, and I think that also comes to the next point. And we're getting close. We have 15 minutes left, Iwo.
Yeah. So, but this is actually part of the reason, actually a big reason why I wanted to start this show, because my other career track for the past 24, 23 years has been as a teacher. And I I teach a private program where the emphasis is more on coaching children to self-learn, right? It's not delivery of content, it's actually coaching. And what I have seen, trying to get into the psyche of the different generations for the past 20 over years, society is really changing very, very fast. And on the corporate side of my work in the communications work, what I observe is the leadership nurturing, as you put it, Dato, the leadership nurturing of the next generations of leaders in organizations has not kept up with the rate of change in society, right? And this has given me a source of concern, because when the 50, 60 something years old leaders retire and leave the scene, and they have not adequately nurtured the 30s and 40 years olds, and these 30, 40 years old will not be able to nurture the 20 something years old who are coming online now.
Correct. Yeah. We are going to get worse if we don't. And I think I just want to touch one point that Tuan Hussein said. When you fail, when there is that vacuum of that leadership, it's not remaining vacuum. Because time is changing. What is perceived as leaders will fill that vacuum. The vacuum by not leadership, by other things, that the taking over of that leadership by other kinds or other perception of leaders, of what they think should be the leadership, or what the trends, more so about the trends, because they are influenced by the social media and the rest. So people think they are having leaders. People think about people who are talking about leadership, about, oh, now we have to have this kind of leader. We have to have this kind of leader. When what they are talking is not about what we are looking at. These kind of leaders come in and just demand leadership. They want to be recognized as leaders. So this is what I call a demanded leadership, because there's a vacuum for the right kind of leadership. A demanded leadership, or that is influenced by the social media, will fill in. Yeah. So now
I think this issue is getting very hot, because there's more questions coming in now. Well, we can blame the leadership on the past. Amin says nothing much we can do about that now. What would your wisdom be about what we can do to move forward to build the next generation of pelapis?
I'm not blaming the past. I'm not saying I'm saying anyone in particular in the past, but I am saying that we have not nurtured enough. The opportunity of nurturing leadership was not created by us, by the people, past leadership. I don't say all. I'm not saying all in the past have not been leaders and they have not passed on. They have passed on, because there's a big gap between, we have a person that is in the 90s that is trying to lead, and we have the people that wants to, in the 30s that wants to lead. So there's a big generation gap. Right? So forget about blaming any. There's no blame here. If you want to lead, I guess you start with yourself to lead. You should not be looking at what can others do. If you start looking at what others do, then we are sunk again. What we could do, so that if we think we want to lead, we lead in whatever small way we can, in wherever we want. And as I said, anyone can start by looking at oneself. How do we lead? If he wants to lead, if one wants to lead, he must want to lead. If he doesn't want to lead, I'm not blaming those who doesn't want to lead either. They can remain wherever they want. There's not everybody in the world wants to lead, right? People are comfortable by following, so let it be. So, but people who wants to lead must come forward and lead, because if you don't lead, the demanded leadership will come. They are not supposed to be there, but they are going to be demand. I demand this. I'm entitled to this. I want this. I want to be recognized as this. I'm different from these people and that people, So you have to lead me. You have to look at me. I'm the leader. So this is what is going to happen if you don't. This is
So
what
it
I'm
still
trying
comes
to
back
say.
to individuals taking ownership to make that difference. Would you say that?
Precisely. If you think you want to lead, you can start with yourself. No one else is going to be there to say, hey, you please lead lah. If you don't want to, but
Okay.
if you want
So
to, some people
then
say, if you want to, people say you lead, then you will lead. Right?
then this leads to the next question by Pal again. How do we undo the institutionalization of mediocrity?
Well, okay. I mean, we are in the when we say how do we undo, are we looking at others? If you are looking at others to do it, then I think the undoing of the institutionalization of mediocrity will not happen.
Oh, pedas answer.
Yeah, will not happen. Right. So you have to look, as I said, go back to you. Go back to
Yeah,
yourself.
and
Go back to
I think
yourself.
it makes
Even
sense because
in business, in
I read
entrepreneurship. Sorry, Ivo, go ahead.
yeah. So what you say makes a lot of sense because I saw I think it was a U.S. Navy commander who gave a college graduation speech, and he said, "Well, if you want to change the world, start by making your bed." Right.
Yeah, I
So
saw
and
that one. Yeah, I
yeah,
saw
and I
that.
think it really makes a lot of sense because when we look at institutionalize anything, it looks so impossible to change, right? But if we can start everybody, leading ourselves to a better place. I mean, I buy into this as well. Politicians, they sell whatever we want to buy, right? So if enough people demand better politics, as an example, they will change what they have to sell. There's no market for what they are selling, right?
Uh, I don't know. I'm not going to get into that area of sphere because there's a lot
Yeah,
more
yeah. Just an
thing.
example. I
So
promise I wouldn't
I can, but it is
touch
probably
politics.
another forum, right? I'm not
Yeah, yeah,
averse to touching on politics, but let that be
yeah. But
another
not in this. Yeah.
in this
Okay,
particular
maybe
thing.
quickly
So,
a couple
but
more
anyway,
questions.
yeah, okay.
How do leaders connect and engage with people who seem like they do not care for various reasons, including those who have other issues outside?
Okay, how do leaders connect and engage with people who seem that they do not care? I did mention just now, but if it is in your organization, leadership demands that you are ruthless,
Hmm.
unflinching in your deeds. At the same time, but first you must look at the leader. Does he provide that? He's a macro thinker and a solution thinker. Does he provide enough of all that? Has he exhausted? Has he what you call created that hunger that they want to and has he created the covenant of trust, I call it, a
Hmm.
covenant of trust between leaders and the ones that is supposed to lead. If there is all this
Hmm.
between that leader and I won't call them followers, I call them the people, right? I don't want followers is just has a negative connotation that they just follow blindly. So I would like to give credit to the people who follow suit. So they're the people that wants to follow you. So they have done their thinking. So what happens there? That what happens is that you have communicated enough and people have a bond, a covenant of trust between those that is
Hmm.
leading and the people that is with you, that are with you. So there is this bond, this trust, a very
Right.
strong trust between those who lead and those who are people that are following the leader. And again, I said
And
it's not following, but
this is
being part of the leader. If you have that strong bond, then anybody else who does not care, it is important that the leader then takes an unflinching ruthless decision of just exclude them from what they are not supposed to be. Part of the people that wants to change. We can't take care of people who does not want to change. Let them be, right? But
I
most
think that is so
important,
true.
the critical mass of people. You must have the critical mass to bring about the acceptance of a change. That critical mass is what you should be focusing on. It's not just one person. The critical mass must come. This is what it
I
is
think
all about.
this is what you mentioned to me the other time about the relationship that leaders must create with the people, right?
Yeah.
That
It's a
relationship has to be there, otherwise it's not going to work.
It's not just communicating. When you said about communicating, I said no, just not communicating. It is building a relationship.
Right.
Building a relationship is not just putting some notes and some manifestos or some writings to the people that you want to lead, or you would want them to follow you, or you would want them to be with you. It's not about. It's a relationship. If you build that relationship, as I said, it's not just even a relationship. It's a covenant of trust, something that is bonding, not binding, but a bond that you create between a father and his children, between the head of family and the family, between the leader in the organization and the people that follow the organization, between friends, someone that takes that lead within that friendship, and that relationship, between the political leader and the rest of the masses of people, between the leader of the government and the people of the government. If there is no such bonding, you are not leading.
So how
I think
would you build
yeah, go
that
ahead.
bond? How would you build that bond then?
Yes, I said, it is nurturing this at all level, and you must, as I said, you have to care. You have to be aware. I put it in simple words because I have spoken all of it already. You have to be aware. You have to be sentient. You have to know where you want. You have created all this. Don't you? And if the people that follow you wants what you want, don't you think that they want what you want? If they want what you want, and you have created energy that make them want what you want, the bigger the one that you can create, the bigger the energy that they will give you. So if all this becomes one solid brand, one solid bond that will take you across, there is no reason for people to say, then it is not a question whether how do you create the bond, how do you create that covenant. It's not a written covenant, it's a working covenant. It is a condition of a relationship. It is
Right.
the environment of a relationship. So it is not demanded of them. This is what they want.
So it's basically
But
it comes back to starting from myself, right? The
yeah,
everything that I do, the attitudes that I have, the energy that I give, the care that I show to others, how trustworthy I am. It all starts first with myself.
right. I mean, there are people who, I mean, not everybody wants to be leader. I understand. And some people may just opt to be an individual. Fine, let them be. But for you to lead, you must have a critical mass. That critical mass is important. Someone that shares your vision. Not just sharing. Someone understands, believe, and can see visually. They could see that vision, that picture, that what you want is what they want. And I said that energy will come. The clearer it is, the bigger it is, the more they want. The more they want, the more the energy that they will bring forth. And that will move the whole situation forward. I'm talking this from my own experience. I'm not reading this from a book. I have done this before, so I know what it is.
Right.
So, in that sense. But one should not despair. If you have left something good and subsequently it's become rotten, I think anyone and everyone can be the one that initiate that bringing about of a new kind of leadership. But don't leave it empty. The moment you leave it empty, other people will start claiming that leadership, which is a demanded one, which is not natural, which is not creative, which is not solving problems, which is not people oriented. I mean, it's not part of that the human being movement of human beings. So if you can achieve that, that's what I call a brand. Example.
Right.
When give example, some of the biggest brand in the world globally, Shell. Do you know who's the guy that's leading that? You don't even know, but you believe in the Shell. You believe in what they stand for. Petronas used to be that way, right? Without elaborating.
No.
Yeah. So it becomes a brand. The brand is recognizable for the activities of the leader and the people and the team and the people, not just head of teams. I must stress at the end of the day that everyone in that critical mass must be part of it. That's what creates the brand. And so it's not about a logo.
It's the entire culture of the entire culture of the organization, right? How they operate, how they think, how they make decisions, the basis of their decisions and all that.
It's not just about a logo. A logo is just for identity purposes.
Right.
It's not about just a logo. It's about the movement. It's about the legacy. A legacy can be just humans that's moving in the right direction. A legacy, that human movement can be represented in a logo, but it doesn't have to be represented by a logo.
Yeah, and I think another good example would be Google, right? Google has this way of thinking, and you know, their offices are designed around this way of thinking. You know, and then some aspiring tech companies or some aspiring startups, okay, we want to be like Google, so let's design our offices in this way, the Google style. So, what do you think of that, Dato?
I don't know. I mean, I must say that I know about Google and how they move, but Google is ubiquitous now with the rest of the world because almost everybody is Googling something. But I think that's Google is, to me, a means, not the end. It's a means of the people achieving in the new global front, in the new borderless world. Google provides that means. It is a facility. That's my mind. Of how you use it, where you use it, what you use it for, is up to you. And again, when I say it's up to you because if you can create, to me, the most important thing is that relationship, that brand, because that's your legacy, or that movement, that bond, that's your legacy. So it is not about leading people. It is not about one star in a team. It is not about Rahman Maidin. It is not about Evo. It is not about this. It's about, when you say leaders, I'm not talking about a person, one particular person. No. If you think it is one particular person, then what happens when that fellow is dead? Or when that fellow gets to be 100 years old and he can deliver much, then what happens to that? What happened to the rest? They are lost, as we are now. Because we are looking at others to lead, right? We are not part of a critical mass. So I think being part of that critical mass that believes in a vision, that believes in put it in an organization, a logo, a movement, or a country, or whatever it is, that is important. That is the brand we are looking at.
So the legacy of leadership would not be the memory of you, right? But it's the continuing culture and
precisely
and mission.
We are not living behind. We cannot live behind idols. We are not keen on idolaters. It has to be more than. It's not about idolizing somebody. It's not about idolaters. It's not about idols. And I think if you think of leadership in that way, you're wrong. I think this is wrong. I think this is about the movement of people, the mind of that people, and the movement of the people. And you must always remember, if that becomes a vacuum, heaven forbids us, others will fill in with something else.
Yes.
I
we
think
have seen it. We
we
have
are
seen it.
there.
We've seen it happen before in organizations and countries.
Unless there's some other questions.
Yeah. So there are a couple more. Do you have time to go through them?
I'm okay. No problem.
Okay. So how about this one from Marceline? In this critical time when people are more divided than united at every level, from political to economical, where does the leadership go? What kind of leader should you be? So I think you've covered this as well. So or do you have a new perspective for this context?
No problem. The person's name is Marceline. Yeah, I mean, as I said, it starts with yourself. Yeah. If you think we are divided, then we begin not to think about. We should begin by not having. We should lead by not having a divisive mind. Right. So once you have a divisive mind, the rest follows as it's a divided. The division will not forever be there.
Yeah.
Many people today talk about divisiveness, but very few people today start talking about non-divisive attitudes and mindsets. We have not achieved that. We have not moved from that mindset.
Yeah.
In fact, we have gone bad in as far as that mindset goes.
Yeah, because I think it's more difficult to. It takes more energy to unite than to divide. Divide is very easy, right? Just put your flag down and it's divided. But
yeah, as I said, it begins with all one person.
Yeah.
Every day I have all the group chats and so on. I can tell you it's zero about how we do things together. It's always about you and me and how we are divided.
Okay. How about a more light-hearted question? What do you think about social media leaders and influencers?
Oh, thank you, Inshad, Tariq. Social leaders have an influence. I won't say they don't have an influence. They have a big influence on people. As I said, if you can think of yourself as a leader in social media, then what do you want? What do you want as a leader in the social media environment? If you want something that is noble, that will bind together, that will bind the critical mass of the people. People go into social media not knowing, I'm sorry, many, I wouldn't say all, but many not knowing where they should lead us. I'm quite conversant. I'm abreast with the all kinds of social medias, whether from the TikTok and all the rest of it, Instagrams or Facebook and the rest of it on the blogs too. But remember that social media, they have influence, but it must be relevant. Remember, you have to position yourself as a leader. Leader in that Ivo, you asked about Google. Now, social media is another medium, a means, not the end. It is a means to do what you want to do. And if you think it is influential, but is it influencing in the right way, or is it creating that vacuum for other things to come in? Are you dissipating, or diverting, or divisive, or are you creating something that will bring people together? So these are questions for a leader to answer. even in the medium of social media.
Yeah.
I think I sufficiently answered that, Ishak.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dato. So as a final question, what would be your 3 key takeaways for tonight?
Wow. Okay, number one, I think we talk about that leadership.
Yeah.
That leadership, one that knows, that's aware and sentient, and he creates a want. He creates a want that others would want. Others would appreciate the want. Others would create the energy for that want together. So I think that's the leadership.
Right.
Secondly, you need to communicate, right? But I don't
Yeah.
use the word communicate. I say build a relationship, build a
Mm.
bond between yourself and the people that you want to be part of your journey, part of your movement, that human movement, people's movement in one single direction. So I said number two is the really building that relationship, that bonding. Last but not least, we talk about the legacy. If you have this one and two, you should be thinking about that legacy. Legacy is not, the brand. Legacy is the brand, but the brand is not a logo. The brand is alive, a movement that people can identify with, associate with, as part of that movement. So that's the
Right.
brand. I mean, of course, for purpose of identification, you can brand it, word it. Some people use words. Some people use logo. Some people use just the movement, the cause. It depends many, but it is a legacy of leadership. These three are I think, what should be taken away for tonight's forum.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dato, for spending time. I'm sorry that I've taken more than
No, it's okay.
15
It's
minutes
okay. I hope I
extra.
have done justice to everyone that is
Uh,
listening to and looking to, and I hope you all have find in your hearts uh, if I've been a little bit hard, but I speak my mind. So I'm sure you will probably appreciate that more rather than, as I said, a sugar coated discourse that will not be relevant to most people who
yeah,
are
but
thinking in. So thank you all for the
I'm
time.
sure,
You must
I'm
have spent
sure,
time.
yeah,
So thank you all.
I'm
Thank you,
sure
Iwo.
everyone appreciates what you have shared. All right, so thank you everyone, and thank you very much, Dato, for all your sharing, and thank you everyone for being here. Join me in my next LinkedIn live, the Leaders Dojo. Let me just share with you what we are going to have. So my next guest will be Oli. Some of you, I think, know her already. This will be happening on July 13th. Oli or Nolida Azmi is the current group HR chief HR O of Axiata Group, and she will be bringing she will be speaking on the topic: what kind of leadership do we need in the new normal? Right. So Dato Sri today has shared a lot of very deep insights about the universal values of leadership, especially about self leadership, right? And I think it'd be good to uh, to hear from Oli's perspective as well, because Oli is very much on the very modern style of leadership, talking about diversity, talking about sustainability, inclusiveness. But I think there will be a lot of overlap as well, but maybe just a little bit of a different perspective on things. So catch me on the next Leaders Dojo on July 13th, and together with Oli, let's have a great discussion. Thank you very much again, Dato, and to everyone. Good night and see you next time.